Good afternoon, everyone, and Mikuláš, thank you for the perfect intro. And without further ado, because this presentation is going to be crammed with videos, pictures, photos, and one of my crappy sketches, let's get going. But before I start, I have two news for you. One is good, one is bad. Which one you want to hear first? The bad one. Okay. Well, Stanislav Petera, our amazing photographer with whom we teamed up to create some amazing artwork, got COVID just yesterday and sends his greetings. And I hope that I'll be sufficient replacement for his part of the presentation. So apologies for this. So the good news is the presentation is going to happen. And in this presentation, after the compulsory introduction, I'll talk about our goal, our mission to create a truly unique artwork for Arma Reforger. Then I'll describe the preparation phase, what we as Bohemia Interactive had to do to make this happen. Afterwards, we can look into how it actually is if you want to get a couple of soldiers, some tanks and fighting vehicles, do some explosions, burn some cars, yeah, and how to take pictures of it. And in the very end of the presentation, I would like to show you how we either use or will use the results of this undertaking. Stanislav Petera is a creative photographer with extensive background in fashion photography. He was working in France for a couple of years. Currently, his work is practically his hobby. He's into nature, military, guns. So his creative photography evolves around police, army. He was contracted by the Czech armed forces to create some of their promotional videos and pictures. Speaking of myself, I'm a creative director of Arma Reforger and Arma 4, working at Bohemia Interactive since 2006. I have some natural sciences background as well as a history as a modder before I joined the ranks of Bohemia. And my hobbies are essentially very similar to Stanislav's, and it's nature, military, and games. Bohemia Interactive, for those who are not familiar with us, is an independent Czech studio founded more than 20 years ago. Besides the famous piece of gaming history named Operation Flashpoint, currently available as Cold War Crisis, Arma Cold War Crisis, we are the studio behind Arma series, Daisy, Vigor, or Islands. We have 6 offices across the globe. Most of them are in Czech Republic. One is in Brno, another one is in Netherlands, and the last one in Thailand. And we have more than 350 employees, so we are a pretty big independent studio. Arma Reforger, the game for which we were creating some amazing artwork, is our first Arma on the new Enfusion technology, on the next proprietary engine we have. It got to early access in May 2022 after several years of development of the technology itself and the game content. And by this game we want to restart the Arma series, and both technologically and content-wise, Arma Reforger is our road to Arma 4. It takes place on a fictional island in 1989, the island from Operation Flashpoint, completely reimagined. You can check out some of the screenshots from the game and the artworks in the lobby next to the staircase. It features a small sample of US and Soviet armed forces contesting this island in 2 multiplayer game modes. And as usual, our focus is on the authenticity, which also projects into the marketing materials we are trying to prepare. Here are a couple of samples of what the game looks like. All those screenshots are a little bit staged. They show the game as it can look on your screen. Now, let me arrive to the mission. In short, we decided to recreate a bit of Reforger in real life and snap a few photos, perhaps. We wanted to deliver the feeling of the Cold War, of the military game taking place in there, and we wanted this action to happen in the setting of Reforger, which is inspired by the 1980s Czechoslovakia. You might say that 1980s is pretty close, right? Like a couple of years ago. Well, it's 30, 40 years ago, so it's very difficult to actually research and recreate this reality. And before we delve into the preparation phase, let me show you a video which demonstrates what we were achieving and how. All right, so this was a little demo of what we achieved. I hope you did not record it. If yes, please delete it, because we would like to, save it for the future. We currently use just a fraction of the material we've gathered, and we plan to do that in marketing campaign once we address some of the issues currently present in the game, and I hope it will be soon, and we'll be able to show you everything we have gathered gradually. However, in the preparation phase, in the very beginning, we started focusing on the key marketing deliverables as we were getting closer to the release of the game. So we started asking ourselves how to do the key art, what to do with the game's presentation, aesthetics of the game, color palette, fonts, logo was pretty stable in the last, let's say, spring or winter, and we started looking into how to do the actual artwork. First, we wanted to go for something very original, but then we looked into the presentation of Operation Flashpoint Arma 2, which used the soldier photos, and we thought this might be a good direction for the restart of the series, because part of the pillars of Arma Reforger is the motto "Back to the Roots," in the meaning of revisiting the Cold War setting and embracing the new Arma more as a game than just a simulation. Our goals was to create a unique and authentic artwork which would engage the viewer with emotions and which would ultimately show the setting, which is not very used and pretty unique. And as we wanted to use these material in the game as well, we were looking for something compatible with the game's visual and consistent with its content. Excuse me. So at first, we were talking with our marketing department. As part of it, Petr Poláček, at the time working with us, helped me to identify the interesting motifs in the game. For example, a baroque church, a typical staple of your Czech village. And we started by the concept art, from very rough sketches to a proper concept art made by Josef Suri. For this, we considered what message we wanted to send, what would be the actors, what part of the game we would choose. Obviously, we were also mindful about the age rating. For example, even after we were done with the shooting, we did some extra photo shoot in the studio so that for certain distribution platform, we had to avoid guns or explicit violence, which was completely understandable in the light of events happening on Ukraine. And of course, we were thinking of how to use best the opportunity. We started with the mood board, where I gathered a lot of pictures from the Cold War, focusing on what style, what composition, what kind of atmosphere we would like to achieve. And then I hijacked a drawing board and committed something terrible, but it was still sufficient for Josef Suri, our Arma Reforger concept artist, to create these perfect concepts, which later served Stanislav Petra and his team to seek locations and establish their production. Our deliverables in this undertaking were purely marketing driven, and we started by gathering information about the likely resolution, sizes, aspect ratios of the output. Besides the key artwork, our brand manager came up with ideas for showing the factions, which are truly the main actors of the game. Guys also wanted to personalize these factions. They also sought for details and stills, showing details of equipment. And last but not least, the videos. If you have so much stuff on the stage, as we have seen in the video, it made a lot of sense to capture also some moving pictures. And of course, it's very interesting to show how this is made. It was pretty complex production, so we also planned for taking some making of coverage. And now I'm getting to Stanislav's part. I'll be switching to pictures and sharing some anecdotes and notes pertaining to particular parts of the photo shoot itself. Photo shoot happened in August, basically 20th August last year. It was perfect. It was anniversary of 1968 invasion of Soviet troops and Warsaw Pact troops to Czechoslovakia. So it was very some people were pretty surprised. Anyway, let me just jump onto the material prepared by Stanislav. So what was the first thing we did? We started showing the guys the pictures from early versions or that time's versions of Reforger's development, and allegedly these pictures helped a lot to seek for the location itself. And together with seeking for location, storyboards were created. Sorry for the Czech. Like even these simple pictures with some texts were part of our way to finding and making final shots. So when we started talking with Stanislav, we started talking about stories, because from the beginning it was the story we wanted to tell. So we started describing situations which were likely to either happen in the combat, outside the game, or even as part of Reforger's gameplay. Then the production itself started with the, production itself started with finding location. It took a month, and Stanislav's production team drove through a substantial part of Czech Republic. In the end, they found suitable places in south of Prague, next to the highway to Plzeň, in the town of Mito, because, you know, not every city mayor allows tanks to roam in their public spaces for a reasonable fee. So also vehicles. Vehicles were a big problem because, you know, most of the owners of such beauties are old gentlemen who are attached to their precious little things like this, and they mostly keep them in their personal museums and don't want to take them out much. Also, even getting this old Skoda car in a mint quality was a bit of a problem. In the end, it was found, and then we embarked on searching for suitable actors, because we wanted the actors to retain some personality. So this is the working document which pertains to actually like a working process. And yeah, so this is the place in Mito, which was scouted, and where we eventually got to do that, and this is how the plan looked like. So as you can see, a lot of effort went into making sure we are undisturbed on the spot and we can do what we want. For example, burn some cars. It was this location, like former barracks, featuring the fuel station, which is also part of the game. You can again check out the screenshots. It's on one of them. The thing is, in here, as you could have seen, it was necessary to agree with the local firemen. Unfortunately, local firemen did not report to the central dispatch. So when the huge smoke plumes emerged from the aerial, the real firemen came as well for a visit. So the guys on the spot had a lot to explain. Just to give you an idea of how we worked and how detailed it was, sorry for the check, but it's a plan for like how to get there, what to get there, what is where, and we as a client really received a lot of information. Like Stanislav's team was very transparent in conveying what they want to do. So one of the essential things we wanted to grant them was the creative freedom, and I believe we succeeded, and things went really well on the spot. Well, the photo shoot itself, it's well, maybe the videos will speak for themselves, but what Stanislav wanted to say, honestly, was that it was surprisingly smooth, the only real disturbance being the fireman visit. Otherwise, we had a very precise idea what we want to achieve. We also provided production with a very detailed analysis of how the soldiers should look like, what vehicles we have, simply because we had the design documents. So what I did at some point was just exporting the design documents as PDFs and sending them over, and it was perfectly sufficient for getting a viable likenesses of 1980s Soviet and American soldiers and vehicles. So let's just, I'm sorry, so we had this little beauty, and here you can see the most important tent of the whole event, the catering, and in the background there was the first aid. We had a paramedic on the spot, ready to tend to our ailments. Okay. Well, for some reason we have the oh, sorry. This is from setting up the key artwork, the BTR-60 Soviet APC. You were just witnessing burning several hundred grams of fuel, and I'm not even talking about this. So this is a BMP-1 Soviet infantry fighting vehicle. As we don't have it in the game, we decided that it will be just in the background, contributing to the general atmosphere. And well, you can see the instructor explaining what the actors should do. And last but and this is how it looked like on the spot in the city center of Mito. There were a lot of props. We even made an in-game item of leaflets asking Soviet soldiers to surrender. So we have it as a physical item, and we still may have some in the office, and of course cleaning the place afterwards was the sure thing. But this is what was Stanislav's team's responsible for. Afterwards, the post-production. Stanislav's method encompasses well, a lot of smoke, as you could have seen, to add the depth to the scene, and attention to details like makeup, setup of even particular things on soldiers' gear so that it does not look dumb. So we were doing lots of adjustments on the spot, and let me just show you how the layering is done. So this is the rough shot. If you can see the teeth of the soldier in front, we had a little anecdote about it as well. Like after the artworks were done and almost ready to be deployed, some of the people in the company were like, "Wait, there's something disturbing on the image," and then all of us started to be attracted to those teeth, the little gap. So in the final artworks, we had to Photoshop it. Well, some of my colleagues went as far as finding U.S. Army regulation for teeth shape to argument, hey, we have to fix that one. So soldier got cut out. Then in a separate layers, other elements of the scene were added, because what is not apparent as part of the photo shooting, we also did photos of just particular layers, particular parts, without, for example, front actors, to be able to truly leverage the material, for example, for some website background. So this is how it looks composed, and with the explosions edit from a video, and final stylization and color grading minus fixing the gap. And regarding the final, let's take a look at some comparisons from the sketch. We had the shooting on the spot and the final artwork. So this is the Soviet Army artwork. followed by the US one, which we did in the woods. When I arrived to the crime scene, it was like, daydreaming, because the first thing I saw on the forest road was this Humvee and that truck, camouflaged American stuff. And it was like living in Operation Flashpoint. It was completely fascinating. Like, even us Arma developers don't get to see much of these things in real life. And the final shot of the key artwork. Just as Stanislav has stated, they needed about a month to prepare everything for a 2-day photo shoot, and this 2-day photo shoot was followed by about 1 week or 2 weeks of processing the photos and the videos. And Stanislav's team encompassed 20 people. From us, it was mainly participation by the marketing team and some selected developers who were mostly supplying some information. But we also took some more people on the spot so that they can experience the whole thing. And this brings me to resuming my my presentation. As I've mentioned, we've used it in the marketing, obviously on the website, packaging the game, in the media communication, which is largely to come, and of course in the distribution platforms user interfaces. As I've mentioned, we had to do additional photo shoots because of some limitations for showing weapons and war themes. But we also tried to use this in the game, and it went quite well. So as part of user interfaces, namely main menu, and also our artists used the opportunity to check on the real vehicles to tweak the art assets. Our sound engineers witnessed the whole thing, so they heard the stuff. And in general, it was a very good experience for the development team. It was great motivation for them to see some of the fabled or unknown things firsthand. Like, driving in a Humvee is something you don't get to do every day. So on the website, we've used one of the artworks like this. This is example of the Steam platform, and again, use of the main artwork. And this is the main menu of the game. I've mentioned my amazing moment from arriving on the stage, and here's a screenshot of a similar scene in Reforger. Obviously, there are differences from real life, but our artists, for example, took a lot of pictures of many details, and it definitely gave them bigger understanding of how our steel beasts or sheet metal beasts should behave in the game. Gathering references, especially for many Cold War vehicles, is super difficult. So this was a very good thing. And of course, it was amazing inspiration. Our art producer and marketing specialist got to drive several kilometers on the Czech roads atop of BTR 60, which was super cool. And of course, we offered similar treats to a few more of our colleagues. Also, this summer we had the opportunity to show some of our screenshots, as well as Stanislav Petra's key art or artworks on the World of Video Games Herní svět exhibition in the Gallery Caesar in Olomouc. So you can check out some of the pictures in the lobby. And to conclude my fairly short talk, I would say that the most important thing when you embark on doing things like this is to truly use the opportunity. So get in all the vehicles, all the soldiers, all those props and costumes on the spot, all the costs involved. We really try to capture as much as possible. And if you would embark on this, like do the same, really ask some extra people, employ more photographers and the video crew, it will pay off. One thing which Stanislav was also praising was the good and clear concept. This concept did not happen overnight. In the end, when I counted based on the dates in our documentation, we started about like 9 months before the photo shoot, but it gave us time for some ideas to mature. Employment of marketing department was super important. So we were creating something with intent and according to our marketing strategy. You know, it's nice to have a good photo, but if they don't show what you actually intend to show to the public, no point making them. That's just references. Production, from my point of view, was thorough, super professional, with immense attention to detail, which is always important. You know, like there are many opportunities for things to go awry or for something to backfire, like those teeth. And also, one thing we learned was to accept the cost. Some things are costly, but they pay off. So, of course, getting a BTR 60 on the spot was very difficult, but it was definitely worth it. It was one of the main actors and something very, very important. And I would add, involving the developers is a very nice way to reward them, to build a team, and to motivate them, to show them some aspects, especially if you are doing a real-life shooter. From Stanislav's perspective, it was a very good move to choose the real photography. Of course, as a photographer, he knows that real actors convey emotions. We would be probably, or it would be probably impossible to create something similar using renders or in-game footage. From his point of view, if customer has precise goals, if there is some visuals as guideline, and if customer understands the creative process, it creates a good atmosphere for work in the field and freedom, because with the freedom we gave to Stanislav and his team, they were able to work very efficiently without doing things just for doing them. Instead, they were focusing on goals, and we were changing quite a lot of stuff on the spot. We were there, we were ready, and we were always able to judge the changes based on our vision and expectations, which were defined very clearly. Also, it was super fun. It was very unusual thing, and definitely one of the highlights of Reforger development. And as Stanislav said, well, this thing can move the world, can have super impact on the customers, and to be very enjoyable for the creators. I would add that I hope that it's not the last time we have moved the world. So stay tuned, and I hope that in a couple of years we'll be showing off some cool photo artworks of Arma 4. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to check our websites, Bohemia.net or stanislavpetra.com, and don't hesitate to follow us on Twitter. And now is probably time for questions. Thank you again for your attention. Yes, please.
How many minutes did you
like a minutes of footage. I'm terribly unprepared, but I would say we have several hours of making of footage and roughly 1 hour of videos. So, but it's my very rough estimate based on previous experiences. Final content, it will be mostly YouTube audience friendly, so definitely short videos or just GIFs, definitely under a minute. What you've just seen here was quite unusual. Of course, depending on the needs and format, we may do something longer. As I said, we try to convey some stories, so there may be some mini stories composed out of the footage, but the future holds this. And I'm not entirely in charge of this, but our plans are fairly bold. We would like to use the videos for promoting milestones of the game, updates, and special events we plan. I hope I answered your question, sir. Yes, please.
Any idea how many pictures were taken for one final?
Well, usually there were like 5 to 10 takes. We usually started with just establishing takes, basically setting stuff up, measuring everything, exposition. Afterwards, I was summoned to check on it. Some basic color grading was applied, and then we had a couple of shots. You know, sometimes you set the scene up and do 5, then you do another 5. So the processes you take usually more than you can handle in the end, and eventually you pick one or two really good ones which are fitting to your for the purpose. But we have archive of everything, so it's basically possible to return to it and, for example, cherry pick a detail or a particular part of the scene. As I've mentioned, we've also taken the pictures of the particular layers of the scene. So usually each layer was photographed for several times. It was basically driven by Stanislav's needs for his intended retouching and finalization. But you know, usually short answer is like lots, just to be sure.
How many actors did you end up hiring, and how did you actually find them? Did you contact them directly, or was there an open call? Thank you.
I believe it was done based on the casting via the agency. We as Bohemia Interactive have provided our information of ethnical composition of the US Army and Soviet Army in 1989, which is the data which we were able to research. And then, based on agreement, we were shown some casting pictures, and we agreed on likely actors. As you have seen, there were like 6 Soviet soldiers acting. We got some more guys there, like one guy for like a main American actor. It's the guy standing there by the machine gun. But particularly for Americans, Stanislav's team found several reenactors, and these fine gentlemen agreed to pose with us. You know, like these reenactment clubs are usually like super focused on the authenticity. So they're like, look, I have like 1987 Marlboro cigarettes package, and well, and I have some Vietnam era condom. Where did I put it? They were amazing, you know, and they were our American stuff. They came with like all the equipment, uniforms. Also, their knowledge on the spot was super useful. So, in the end, every picture was weighted by the combined knowledge of ourselves, as we researched it and what we had in the game. The guys from the reenactment and 3 advisors, guys who are into military history, collectors. One of them actually supplied the Soviet uniforms. Speaking of Soviet uniforms, and I hope I answered your question, I'll just share the anecdote. When I came on the spot, I was. We can maybe see them here. Yeah. Basically, these uniforms are older type, which in 1980s was gradually being replaced by the M88, which was used widely during the Soviet involvement in Afghanistan. And I was like, oh my God, like these are the older generation. Come on, can we get the new ones? Well, we can't. We tried. They are impossible to find in the sufficient quantity and quality, like not entirely destroyed. But the advisors were actually ready. They showed us. And now look at it. It's 1990 picture from you know, some garrison Caucasus. There was actually a mixture of these older uniforms together with the new ones. So, you know, they try to calm us down. Yeah, we are on the safe side. And of course, same goes with the vehicles. For example, instead of BTR 70, we have BTR 60 on the photo shoot, simply because there's no BTR 70 available in the Central Europe in a reasonable distance, so it would be worth transporting. So there are little deviations from the game or from the objective historical reality of 1989, but certainly nothing which would ruin the feel of the final artwork. Welcome. And I guess if there are no more questions, we are done and the break is imminent. So thanks again for your attention and hope you enjoy the show.